Welcome. This is Patitos Gang. And today we're exploring territory that's at the same time exciting, somehow unsavory, fake news, social media. I stopped complaining about fake news and social media a long time ago because I have seen things written ostensibly by me and I was wondering, my goodness, my English has gone down so badly. I've seen things written about me that I'm wondering, me? How come? And so on and so forth. Question is, what motivates people to fake things that other people have not said and put it out there and say they have said it? I think way back in those days, when Leke Alda used to rank celebrated Nigerians, quote unquote, in social media, I got quite a bit of mentioning. But like 7 or so years ago, I just suddenly thought, no, this is not acceptable. People were having all kinds of things put out in my name that were horrible, uncharitable to other people, and was supposed to have been written by me. I just said, I basically shut down my social media handles. Facebook somehow hangs in there. I think Twitter hung in there. But what is the motivation? There was a famous article written by Farouk Perogi, and somebody puts my name on it, and it goes viral. I'm asking, but what's the motivation of this person? It wasn't injury to me as such. So why somebody else wrote it? What's wrong with circulating that person's name? So can you explain to me? You are the ones on social media all the time. Explain to me what would lead somebody to doing that. And then we can get to the ones whose object is injury.
Earlier today I was discussing with Paul, and he was saying that sometimes there is no smoke without fire, actually. Most times, these bad news are being, pushed by people that probably want to spoil the image of the other party. But sometimes it could be as a result of loss of information. For instance, now I could tell Prof something, that please tell Yolanda that I don't want to kick this bucket. It all depends on how much information he takes in and how much he understands that information I'm passing. He could give his own interpretation to Yolanda differently, and Yolanda would only dish out whatever she gets in. So sometimes it's as a result of misinformation and a loss of information.
And again, we all human beings have knack for seeking attention. Some people may want attention, and they'll just put out something that will sound, sensational. Yeah. And then so, okay, when people begin to comment, say, now that I got your attention, So it could be also that,
They're trying to drive traffic.
Yes, attract traffic to their own platform and stuff like that.
But my real fear, and Yolanda, maybe you can come in here. I mean, both of you are lawyers, so I'd like you to wear your cap as lawyers also in speaking to this matter. Typically, we all go to court when we're slandered, we're libeled, when we are whatever. But with social media, how much can you really do? But how do we hold people to account without something draconian like government being able to prosecute or whatever? Because my real fear is that it can get to a point where credibility is completely lost in the communications process. You hear something, you say, don't know if this one is fake or those who want to hear it. Yeah, that monster. Yeah, thank God. But those who are more thoughtful say, we can't believe anything we see in the media.
Well, first of all, like he said earlier, there are people that just do these things to get attention. Now, if we use the likes of Twitter and Instagram, we've seen that people get paid due to the traffic that is being caused on their page. That is, the more information you give about popular people, the more money that gets into your account. Now, you give an example of an article that was written by someone else, but your name was used as the owner of the article. Now, why that is being done is because here in Nigeria, we know Professor Patutomi. Now, that would drive traffic to whosoever that posted that article using your name. Now, they're driving traffic to their page. The more traffic that is being driven there, the more money that gets into the account of the owner of that page that's taking that information around. And that is how You see different news about different people. We call it, what we like to call them are cyber bullies. That's what we like to call them. They're just people that just sit. Now, you say there's no smoke without fire. That is true. But there's some people that just sit and just imagine things in their head and pick up their phone and just put it up there online. But when you look deep into this, you see that the reputable accounts, the reputable information sites we have don't post any kind of news. They don't post any kind of information.
There's a news online news channel that in the early years of their operation, people were a bit skeptical about this thing. You need to confirm with the mainstream media to authenticate their distance. But over the years, they have grown, and people are beginning to put trust, and there's a certain amount of authenticity that people have, that they have attracted, that once they put out something, they also, people believe, there's a believability there. So it's something that you keep doing consistently, and dishing out the facts and all that, so that people will get to. So trust your own channel or platform. So I think in doing so, the same way that these bad guys, cyber bullies you call them, are also doing their own thing, that my mother used to say there's a level of, you keep on telling lies until you begin to believe in your own lies too, So it's something that is very damaging. I remember Donald Trump, when he was president, he was always, and then at the end of the day, he set up his own truth, platform. I don't know how it's working now. There was so much, especially in the politics. So they use so much, to destroy the opponent.
A couple of years ago, the BBC held a big conference in Abuja on fake news. And I was invited to speak. Professor Wole Soyinka was also there. And after he narrated his frustrations with, how much was being put out in his name, I kind of decided that there was no point in my complaining anymore. If he was taking that much, so, but really, it is identity theft. When you say that I have said something that I did not say, you've stolen my identity. In a world of intangibles, that is the biggest asset that I have. Shouldn't I be able to prosecute you just like somebody, an armed robber that comes and takes my car? How do we begin to evolve the, if you will, policing of that ecosystem, such that the medium or communications, in fact, generally, does not lose credibility completely? Disaffection poisons the possibilities of social progress. And so, at some point in time, we've got to have a way of containing the damage. Many years ago, in the United States, long before social media, when I lived there in the 1970s, they used to have a doctrine that was called the Fairness Doctrine for television. And if you said anything that was considered untrue or perspective different, you were required to give that person a right of response. And so I had a pretty miserable time as a grad student, because I would get back from the library about midnight. And the TV stations will wait till everybody was asleep, and they will start running all the replies. so you didn't get a fair reply anyway, but that was the custom. They had the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, that essentially superintended that whole process. And in the end, it was really not optimal in ensuring fairness. So when Ronald Reagan was elected president in 1980, the fairness doctrine was abrogated. What would be the best thing to do in this? I used to take the view of just ignore them. And the general American philosophy of freedom of expression is that truth will eventually drown out lies. Here is very active on social media, runs one of those, what do you call the rooms that you have on Clubhouse and places like that? How do you authenticate? How do you ensure that what comes through your platform has credibility? Because if people get the impression that all social media is a collection of fake news, then everybody loses the whole system. So how does the system police itself?
Oh, okay, so I actually run a political program tagged The Search on Clubhouse, and that space will bring several stakeholders and politicians to come enlighten the youth. That's basically what the platform is all about. So in as much as I give room for both my speakers and the members of the club to air their different political ideologies and opinions, I try to checkmate what goes through my page. But if a rumor is going on, I call probably the speaker to order, or probably the person passing such information to give detailed information about it, and then I try to address the issue immediately, just so that it will go out there. But in as much as one tries to checkmate these things, one can still not control what goes out there. So most times, even when it goes out there, you just have to try to come out to debunk these rumors and all. That's basically what I do.
We've even had scenarios where when she brings a speaker up on stage, other people have their own ideas of what they think that speaker has done or the bad speaker has done in the community, in the country. And then when she's trying to let them know, I have no business with this. That is what you've heard. And I don't believe it, but if you believe, it becomes like a rift between herself and the members in the Clubhouse. Oh, you're supporting your speaker, that's what it becomes.
Let's take a break. When we come back, let's see if we can find some solutions, if there are any such things in this world. This is Potatoes Gang, and we'll be right back. And we are back. This is Potatoes Gang. Believe me, this is not fake news. This is really Potatoes Gang. Social communications are really a web that ties society together. Human progress cannot take place unless man can communicate certain shared goals with the other. So, many, many years ago in the United States, long before social media, when I lived there in the 1970s, they used to have a doctrine that was called the Fairness Doctrine for television. If you said anything that was considered untrue or perspective different, you were required to give that person a right of response. And so I had a pretty miserable time as a grad student because I would get back from the library about midnight. And the TV stations will wait till everybody was asleep, and then they'll start running all the replies. So you didn't get a fair reply anyway, but that was the custom. They had the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, that essentially superintended that whole process. And in the end, it was really not optimal in ensuring fairness. So when Ronald Reagan was elected president in 1980, the Fairness Doctrine was abrogated. I used to take the view of just ignore them. And the general American philosophy on freedom of expression is that truth will eventually drown out lies. If enough truth gets on, eventually lie will. But there are those who think a lot of harm gets done by these falsehoods, and you require a certain, I don't know if it's right of reply, or you should always respond. I prefer to ignore them, because many times when you respond, you actually give fuel to the thing. Somebody else may have not seen it, and then you are there say, oh, what's this thing that he's complaining about? And if our goal is to protect society, forget the individual now, if we're going to protect society, which needs the efficacy of social communication to be able to make progress, what should we be doing? Some people, the government officials in Nigeria until recently were proposing prosecution and stuff like that. What do you think is a workable medium?
For me, I think several agencies or institutions should be set to checkmate these things, such as blogs, all those blogs that probably trend the rumors out there. I think only credible blogs there should be a system whereby those blogs will be scrutinized, as well as the journalists and all, that they'll be able to pass certain information. And I also think we also have a role to play. So most times when the BCs are being shared on social media as WhatsApp, our parents or people would not even check the credibility of those sources. They would just start sharing and all from one point to another. That is how the rumor starts going. So I think we also have a role to play by checking the source of such information once we receive them before sharing and spreading the information.
I don't know whether you lawyers could better advise us on the government on what to do. I think it was China. They have a way of scrutinizing, clamping down on some of these carriers of fake news. And they identify them and they attack, either send a virus or something to, destroy that.
That's classic totalitarian society approach.
Maybe, just maybe we could also, because the damage they do to people's lives and relationships and businesses is, cannot be quantified in naira and kobo. But again, the social media has its own way of, helping us reduce the rate of suicide. And I know in the Nordic countries, in Norway, Finland, and all that, the suicide rate is highest in those countries. But they are rich. They're the richest countries in the world. There's no poor man there. But they commit suicide. And the research showed that this communication, yes. They're all cocooned in their own private lives and all that. They don't communicate, they don't do anything. But here, sometimes you receive message in your this thing that will make you laugh. It has reduced stress.
So this is therapy, eh?
Therapy, yes.
Social media as therapy.
Yeah.
No, but for everything there is a disadvantage and an advantage.
Sure.
Social media has its own advantages. Helps us with the news out there. You can do your businesses online without having to move out of your houses. Gives information of whatever is happening. This minute you have the information out there. So that is the advantage of social media. On the other hand, social media can cause depression. You see all these celebrities that will just come online with the kind of news they have heard about themselves. They just delete their Instagram account, delete their Twitter account, and just go offline. I can't handle such news, and they go offline. Like we see, I know we've had scenarios of Ned Nwoko finding out who brings out this news about him, and they find out the information of that person, and they arrest them. Now we see the news of Ned Nwoko is they're now skeptical about the kind of news they bring out, because he will go deep into finding out the source of that information, and you will make sure that person is arrested. Yes, that is what he does. So now, before you get a news about Ned Nwoko online, there should be some sort of, yes, they're very, very careful.
None of us have the time to dig in.
There's no time, but
But when it has to do with you, he would have.
when there's something serious out there, there's serious news going viral about your person, you make out that time. Even if you can't
But
make
look
out
at
the
the
time.
cost.
of
That's
goods.
a high transaction cost.
Yes.
Takes away from other things you could have been doing or applying those resources to, so it's tough. Civil society, horizontal linkages can provide a response pattern. There can be a CSO whose primary business is to police social media. It's not a police force or anything, but you can grade bloggers and say, these guys are fake news champions. These people are this and this is, after a while, people will check them before they check a site, and that will affect the behavior of some of the people who are online.
But it happens. It's out there. Now we have the likes of Instablog, we have the likes of Linda Ikeji, and also, and then we have others that just copy what those famous blogs are posting online. And then we have the ones that just sit in their room and just make things up. Oh, Peter Obi is trending now. We just saw Peter Obi in a hotel with a lady. And he drives a force onto that page. Now you see people just drive it up, Peter Obi, because he is trending right now.
But I mean, hotels every time with ladies all over the place.
You will be surprised on how a meeting with an opposite sex can be misconstrued out there. It's just the mentality of what we, the individuals, have decided to just take upon and just pick up our phones and just decide to spread out one news because we know this is the person trending in this space right now. And they get the traffic they need and they get the pay they need. So, but if we're looking at someone that will check out, oh, these informations are wrong, and coming out from this blog, and looking at, oh, this information is right coming out of this blog, we have those blogs that when we want to get a verifiable information, we just go to their blogs, and we get the information we need. Those informations you see about the fake informations, you can't see them on their blogs.
Yeah.
So that's just...
Well, it's good to know, but for an ordinary person whose life can be damaged, and we're talking about suicide, there are people who have committed suicide because of something that was put out falsely about them. Yeah, and people get away with such because that's just as good as loading a machine gun, going to the person's home and shooting them.
They don't care what happens to the family, the damage they cause the family and their children in school. Other classmates, they say your daddy did this, and those children are traumatized by such fake news, and then they just like these celebrities that bring their family lives to out there. Oh, I'm going to the market, and I'm going this, and I heard a story of someone that went to somebody's apartment to steal something. They asked him, how did you get information? He said, she posted it in Instagram or something.
Of course. They put themselves out there.
Yeah.
They put themselves out there.
We should be careful what we post out there.
Out there.
And it's not everything that I have a new setup, I have a new car, I have a new... People will visit you. So we have to be careful. The kind of information that we want the public to consume about us. And the one that should be private to us.
But maybe that's the social connection they're looking for so that they don't get commit suicide. So that other people know something about them and they can exchange.
I don't think that Nigeria has made any law on the use of social media. I'm not sure.
There was an effort, but it was, I was amongst those who fought back, who fought it. Because in the hands of the wrong people in power, that can become source of grave abuse.
Yes.
But there's no question that if we use civil society, and people really monitor what people put out and call them out, we'll get to a point where, it will happen less. Because each time you are called out, your credibility is punctured, and, and we can go on like that. But it is a very serious matter. We should not make light of at all in this country. I take myself, I just ignore and stop reading, not bother. And it's not a big deal as far as I'm concerned. I think I can live with. If anybody who wants to find out can always go and look at your history. But
even you, some of the news the fake news, some of us respond to. Even without you have people that respond to. Yes. So you don't even have a say no. Yes. You don't even need to do anything, bro. Your people out there who are ready to fight and to defend their home.
It's crazy. Anyway, we've got to go. This is a very important subject matter, because society needs to be able to move on in a peaceful way, that opportunities come and people live their lives. And the bullies who are out there need to know that through history, bullies have always gotten what they want in the end. They get away for now. Eventually, society catches up with them. Okay, it's great to have you all. And we've got to continue this conversation. Social media handles, talk about social media, are scrolling out there. So continue the conversation, and we'll see you next week. This has been Potatoes Gang.